according to many market experts, palladium is supposed to do the best this year by the end of 2012. They're forecasting up to 850 an ounce, about 850 an ounce, larger increase than gold or silver. Now, I don't trust those forecasts. I think gold and silver are going to do much better, but maybe palladium's going to do much better. And you know, we're looking today. The price is down. The price is down. You know, usually I read these stories about there's a shortage in palladium, or there's a shortage in platinum, and all this kind of garbage. It seems to time the market perfectly, because right after they release a lot of these stories, the metals go down. I find that suspicious, but you know, I'm getting a little more wise as I study these things. But I'm not going to buy any more palladium unless I see it get down to some really crazy price. I'm not buying anything, period. Because I don't know if this is near the bottom or what, but if that's near the bottom, I'm not too bad off, and it won't take too long to start getting gains in anyway on gold, silver, platinum, and palladium. But I'm not sure if this is the bottom, because it seems that, you know, we could have some more economic bad news coming up on the horizon. And I'm not sure if I want to invest in anything that is, even though it's physical palladium, in an ETF. I don't plan to actually keep brokerage accounts. Well, I'll probably keep some, but I'm going to get rid of most of that stuff this year if the metals go up a lot. I'm going to cash in a lot of stuff and just hold on with cash, and just hold on with physical metals, because I think it's going to ride out for the next couple of years after that. And then I'll start selling off physical metals, because I think the height for physical metals might be 2014, 2015. But we're probably going to see a double or more this year for silver. So I'll definitely be selling off ETFs if it's that high. Now, I wanted to go over a couple things. This was an article that, you know, Russia could possibly run out of palladium. Boy, I've been hearing this garbage the last couple of years, you know. And they seem to time this every time there's a down, you know, to put this out after, you know, the metal's going up for a couple months or so, and then they'll put out all these rosy stories. And usually when they put out these rosy stories, what happens is the metal starts going down. So I almost think it's almost like a setup. But I think the metal is going to do extremely well this year. It's probably going to have, I think it's actually going to go up like around 1,000 or maybe more. That's what I was thinking all along. So I don't know what kind of pullback we're going to get in it, because there's a lot of people buying it. And but anyway, it goes on. This article has too many good key points about it, and I just got to go over it. I'll post a link, my reference to this. It's very difficult to find information on palladium. Very difficult. And I also want to point out, you know, people talking about bust JP Morgan, buy silver. It wouldn't take that many people to buy palladium to really trash this market. Versus, I know you'd have to buy about, for 1 ounce of palladium, that's about 20 ounces of silver. But that would have a 1 ounce of palladium versus buying 20 ounces of silver would have a much greater effect on the overall palladium market. It could drive the prices very high. Now, I'm just going to preface this right now with something before I get into this article about Sprott is actually going to offer platinum and palladium ETFs. So he's going to have to buy a whole bunch of this stuff up before he offers it. So guess what? Guess what? There's not that much on the market, and you know, they had to pull out of stockpiles for both of these metals back in 2011. Plus, they're having more and more problems with labor disputes and electrical problems, also in South Africa. Just not only labor, but it's also labor disputes up in Russia. Like in Russia, they got to pay the miners more than twice as much money to work up there. There isn't even a single tree that lives around that mine, that is alive around that mine within 20 miles. That's how polluted it is. So if you get paid twice as much, you're probably dead. That's why they can't get any workers up there, period. It's North's mine up in northern Siberia. It's so polluted. They don't even let Western visitors go up there. That's where 43 43% of the world's palladium comes out of Russia. 39% of the world's palladium comes out of that one mine. So tell me what it could happen to the price of palladium. And they've been saying this for a couple of years, but people are actually, I think you got a good investment here. That's what I would state. If I told somebody to buy palladium right now, I don't know if it's going to keep going down a little bit more. I don't think you'd have to. It wouldn't even be. It would be in this year where you'd be way the hell ahead if you sold it. It's a sure bet. It's a sure bet. That I wouldn't hesitate in recommending even people bought palladium at this price. And I don't know if it's going to keep going down or what, but it's going to be ahead this year. You will not lose. You will not lose. I'll tell you that right now. You will not lose. And I'm not in the habit of giving out advice because I'm just kind of trying to estimate where the markets go. But if I wanted to tell somebody where they could protect their money, that would be the place. In other words, if I was working for one of the people I used to work for, that would be what I'd be advising them. It might actually be on the line for that crap too, big time, because it's like you make them money or else you're dead, me, And I'll give you a little story about 911, and when a 911 was going on back in September 2001, I remember that building was coming down. I was looking at it like, oh, there you go, World Trade Center. See ya, I wasn't even that surprised or nothing, I just figured stuff was like that was going to come up, and I was like, people were going ooh, and I was like, yeah. Anyway, but my boss had a funny, I don't know if you call it funny, but he said when that thing came down, he took the look at it. He goes, first reaction, thing that popped in his head. Too bad that wasn't the IRS. And that cracked me up, but that was funny. I thought his remark, because that was right from the heart, So anyway, when you go trade your palladium in, I don't know what you're gonna get for it, but it's gonna be interesting what's gonna be coming out with all the rules out there as far as trading in physical metals and all this type of stuff. As these metals go way the hell up, I think they're gonna tax the bejesus out of them to the max. That's one thing I'm having a little bit of difficulty trying to ascertain as to, should you wait for the ultimate high or should you cash it in before the ultimate high gets here and try to move into another investment that might grow, But to get on with this palladium factoids that are in this article, which I found interesting, goes on as a close sibling. Palladium shares many of the close sibling to platinum, that is. Palladium shares many of the same traits and uses, but notably as a key component in automotive catalytic converters. The main difference is that palladium has historically been favored in gasoline engines, whereas platinum is more common in diesel. But diesels are starting to use more palladium. But also in Japan, it turns out the Japanese domestically produced cars seem to use more platinum. But that was one reason platinum got hammered when they had the tsunami in Japan, because their automotive production for the domestic car fleet actually uses more platinum in their catalytic converters. Also, talking about global car manufacturers, the production's going up for cars globally. Maybe it's going up in the United States also, but it hasn't reached the ultimate high that it was before. But globally, it's setting new records for car production every year. So 6% is more of palladium is supposed to be consumed this year, and it's going to set new was consumed last year than it ever was, and it set new record highs. And they actually had to pull out of stockpiles from Russian stockpiles to meet demand. Russia's main mining giant, Norilsk, doesn't mention a name here, is more concerned with nickel production, which accounts for 90% of sales. There's also rumor out there they're going to go into a particular type of mining production that will not give them as much palladium, and it's actually going to just cheapen the price of producing the nickel out of the ore and also clean up the environment. That's a rumor that Norilsk might go to that, in which case it would cut down the amount of palladium coming out of the mines. I don't know if that's going to happen or not. But, if that happens, the price of palladium goes up, and guess what? Then they'll change the production back. But the whole game is if you can actually buy low and sell high and not hold forever, that's the way to do it. South African producers have been plagued by energy shortages and labor disputes. Yeah, because they don't pay them nothing. Figure it out. The country's output is expected to be the thinnest in years. That's why they're having a lot of problems with platinum. There's strikes. They're not paying those workers in South Africa hardly any damn thing. And that's why they have all these stoppages. And, they could actually have a total revolution in South Africa, and then you might see a halt to platinum. So there's a lot of geopolitical events that can actually move up. And actually a lot of palladium comes out of South Africa too. Not as much as in Russia, but a lot. But if there's any kind of geopolitical event that happens in South Africa that's really catastrophic, you could see both these metals fly extremely high. And also, it goes on to say this will be likely the 6th consecutive year of falling global mine production. Now, I read something also that there's these companies that have to turn over the mining to the local people, local governments, by so many years, and that's coming up. That's why they don't want to invest any more in infrastructure. And that's why a lot of garbage is falling apart. They're just running it like as cheap as possible, being as stingy as possible and trying to work people as hard as they can. That's the game that's going on. They're evil, what can I tell you? To cover the shortfall, palladium suppliers have been dipping into secondary above-ground sources, namely a strategic pile in Russia. But the key source is running dry and may be almost depleted. Now, this strategic stockpile in Russia is very secretive how much is in it. And it's always rumored that it's going to run out. And I always notice when they say it's rumored it's about to run out, that's when the price is being driven up of palladium. And then they dump palladium on the market and drive it down. They're shrewd. I don't know when this damn thing's going to run out. It may be pretty soon with the more global vehicle production. It could be. But they're slick, and they've been slick for a number of years. So, but considering that palladium is a more volatile metal than silver, if you bought it, probably even now, I don't know if it's going to pull back some more. But when, say, silver takes off, palladium's probably going to take off a lot better from its low. Because you need industry to move up palladium. But if you caught it on the low, you're going to get bigger percentage gains from that point than you would from silver. So actually, I would recommend, even if you bought it now, you're not going to lose. You're not going to lose as long as you hang on till sometime in 2012. With more cars on the road and fewer supplies coming out of key mines, market forecasters are bracing for a palladium shortage of 215,000 ounces this year. Now, actually, they had a shortage last year, and they killed the price in November with dumping on the market from Russian stockpiles. It was like a huge amount they dumped, even though they didn't have enough for the year. Plus, they raised margins on platinum and palladium, even though those metals weren't performing very well price-wise in September, and they drove the price down. So, I think they know what's going on. They're trying to really knock these metals down a lot, and they're going to be. In other words, it's the percentage gain you get. Drop the price as much as possible, and a really smart money is moving in low. I didn't move in low enough. Now, I got more cash to buy stuff, but I also want to make a decision. I want to keep cash that I can last for like a long, long time, and not have to even think about, anything. It's like I call that. I always keep a serious cash buffer, so I don't necessarily invest that, but I may invest some of that if I see these metals really get slammed down really bad. There are 59 metric tons of palladium stockpiled in ETF bank vaults, according to Bloomberg. This total represents a healthy 14% palladium fund holdings since the start of the year, the strongest quarterly increase of 2010. And it goes on its last line. It says it's no coincidence that 10 top metal analysts are forecasting palladium to surge to $850 an ounce by the end of 2012. This implies a 33% from the current levels of $640, which easily beats the price appreciation outlook for silver, 13%, and gold, 15%. Now, I think silver's going to do 100%, but gold's probably going to do about 70%. But I don't, if silver goes up some crazy amount, like doubles, the same conditions that would cause silver to get ahead of gold and the silver-gold ratio to decrease would actually be extremely bullish for palladium and platinum, especially palladium. So that may, if big IF, if silver really does go up that super high, palladium might go to some insanely high number, and you'd be glad you bought it then, that's for sure. Now, the other thing is I keep thinking is Sprott seems to, when he first gets in on something, he seems to get in on the winners. So he is getting ready to launch a physical palladium and platinum exchange traded funds. They're not open yet, but he's getting ready to. He's buying the stuff up. And like I stated, you can't really take that much palladium off the market without driving the price up. This, you hear old David Morgan always talking about, the silver market is so tiny compared to the gold market. Well, the palladium market is infinitesimally small. It's like comparing the silver market to the gold market and then comparing the palladium market to the silver market. It makes the silver market looks huge. Plus, you talk about the industrial usage. Palladium is almost all industrial use. It's still a precious metal, though, and there's actually still money running into it because of debt situation. I know palladium doesn't have traditional use as money, but in Russia it did. So I think you bought it even now at this rate, 600 something. You can't lose. It can go down some a little bit, maybe over the next few months or whatever, but it'll be up way over 800. You're not going to lose, and you're not going to have to wait no year for it to happen either. You can't lose. I will state that. So this is one metal that's a very good investment.